all the reports I've been hearing out of the White House is the president is running around screaming at television sets. He's increasingly isolated. He's basically wanting to fire everybody. But Kushner, who is also now shooting at all the staff members,
who was behind the
right.
firing of Director Comey, reportedly.
So now Kushner and Trump are aligned against everybody else, blaming everybody else for the firing of Comey when it was Trump that fired Comey, and Kushner who supported firing Comey. He's even at his club, reports at his club that he's going off, detached, almost detached from reality. And then you have the ambassador of the United Nations calling him the CEO of the country, fundamentally ignorant of our constitutional republic and the Constitution, the system that's been put in place. And Rex Tillerson cowering like he's a caddy, saying he's, quote, devoted to the president, cowering like a poor, pathetic, I can't say caddy because most caddies, like, will talk back to you.
Perhaps ballet is the word you're looking for.
I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's sad and pathetic that the Secretary of State feels like he has to say that he's, quote, devoted to a president who is, again, shredding democratic norms.
We need to get to
every
Clapper.
Day.
There's so many things about this weekend that stand out, but first of all, it's awfully early for a president and his staff to be circling the wagons like this. The idea that we may be on the cusp of 2.0. What would be interesting about that is then there's no one left to blame. In a funny sort of way, after 125 days, if you have an entirely new team and things don't get better, then what? Because the one constant there will be the president and one or two then staffers like Jared Kushner. So in an ironic sort of way, it puts more pressure on him to get it right on 2.0, because if it doesn't work the second time around, then what do you do?
But Michael Schmidt, the remarkable thing is Donald Trump is screaming at all of his staff members for things that he has done unilaterally. I forget exactly who wrote this. Maybe it was in the Times or the Post, but it's like a pilot that decides to turn towards turbulence and then blames the crew for the for passengers being
bumped around.
What I found fascinating, again, profoundly ignorant by the President of the United States. Again, none of these people actually have any understanding of how this constitutional republic works. The President saying he would have no problem ordering a loyalty oath from an FBI director. That is the talk of an autocrat.
And what are you hearing? Did he do that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, he clearly didn't understand Comey, because if he saw what Comey did before the election, he had to understand that Comey really didn't care what a lot of people thought about him. So if the president was going to come to him and say, hey, do you want a loyalty? Of course Comey wasn't going to go along with that, and he comes back to it and comes back to it. And I think that really colored the way that both of them saw each other in the months that came forward. But the idea that their relationship was going to work, like, it was never going to work. Comey was never going to ever do the things that Trump wanted him to do. But the thing that I don't understand is that why does Trump fire Comey in the fashion that he did? If there's nothing to hide on the Russia investigation, all this does is just ratchet up the pressure and attention and raise questions. Why did he do this, and especially in the fashion that he did?
He did it because he knew that he was going to expand the investigation, and he figured to take the hit, as bad as that hit was going to be, than have this independent actor in there. He's trying to get elected Republican officials in to replace him at the FBI. An idea so preposterous that even Lindsey Graham said no.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the. We've seen on various issues with Trump in the past. You can say various things about how he makes decisions, and sometimes is impetuous, but on things like his tax returns, for instance, he clearly, over the course of a year, made a highly rational calculation. The political pain that I will suffer in not releasing my tax returns is obviously less than the pain I would suffer if I released them,
right? Because
there's bad stuff in them, right?
Same thing here.
It's the same thing that's going on here. He's taking a lot of incoming now, and I think whatever people say about him being detached from reality, he recognizes that he knew he was going to take a lot of heat for this, but he clearly has decided that the heat he's taking now is less than what would happen if there's a
full-bore independent investigation with James Comey asking for more resources, asking for more prosecutors, trying to get to the bottom of what this Russia connection is. And that's the one place where I think we can't dismiss Trump as being wholly irrational. He's making calculated decisions right now.
I don't think that, I agree with John, I don't think that was an irrational decision. Everybody all weekends, why did he do it? What? He knew, he said he did it because he understood that Comey was onto something. I'm not going to blow the end of billions for anybody, but I will just say one of the last scenes, Axelrod talks about pulling a string.
Right.
Well, guess what? The FBI has started pulling that string.
And Trump's helped
them. And they're still pulling that string.
By running
his mouth. And where it leads is not just an election issue. It is a criminal issue, and Trump knows that.
I'm not sure. I would say that there was some evidence that it was a miscalculation, because you recall when the firing came out, they had press releases kind of ready to go with quotes from Democrats saying how bad Comey was. You know, as if that would be this big pivotal thing. But they clearly misunderstood. Oh, I know. I'm just saying
it wasn't like it was calculated.
Well, let's also be clear. We're not trying to say that it was not a miscalculation. And it's not to say that they obviously misread Democrats in Congress. I'm just trying to make the point that I think that Trump the reason he did this was not because he's out of his mind. He did this because, as you say, Joe, I think he recognized, he looked over at the FBI and said, this guy, James Comey, who came to the White House, I asked him, if we believe this story, I asked him for his loyalty. He wouldn't give me his loyalty. Now he's investigating me, has been since last July. He's now taking daily briefings on this matter rather than weekly. He's now asking for more prosecutors. Donald Trump knows what's at the heart of this. I don't know what that is, but he does, and he's saying, this guy knows too.
Another scene from the end of Billions. I know what that string is, and I'm going to pull on that string.
I don't know what that string is.
He says, I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but I'm going to find out what it is.
For the people who've seen Billions, I don't mean to get into it, but there is this final scene where he says, I don't know what the string is, but you do.
Right.
And I'm going to find it. Well, here's the rub. With the FBI, they've already found the string, and they're pulling on it. Based on my contacts inside the FBI, and they're starting to tug on that string.
And they're going to keep tugging.
And they're going to keep going. And it's accelerated because of the way he fired Comey. He knows it.
Picture, though, there's a lot of damage being done to our country.
No, there is, and the FBI is on to it.
But so many of these comments that strike me and what you were getting at is...
Nobody's saying it's going to be okay, Mika.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, this is a constitutional crisis, which is why we said this is a constitutional crisis.
We are a country at the end of the day of distributed power. You have separate institutions and you have separate independent power bases in the government and outside the government. That's what checks and balances are about. And what you sense is an administration that viscerally has difficulties with that. They want concentrated power, and there's a friction that's every day getting stronger and stronger between their worldview and the American political tradition. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
This is a guy who ran a small family company for his entire life, and he thinks that is how the government should run. It is not.
Yeah,
and Nikki Haley thinks, the UN ambassador, who's a governor, thinks he's just a CEO of business. How ignorant. She served in government for how long, Mika? And she thinks that the president's the same as the CEO? How completely ignorant can you be of our Constitution, of our history, of our republic?
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.